Good afternoon here on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel. I'm Joel McCall. We're going to visit now with Moser. He is the head coach for the Onalaska lacrosse boys hockey team. Happy to have you along with us, Coach Moser. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to do this with us today.
Thank you, Joel. Happy to talk about our program. So let's get rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. They're 7-8 overall are the Onalaska lacrosse Hilltoppers for boys hockey. The last game actually just took place the other night. That was on Tuesday night. Lost 6-3 to Aquinas Holman, who's also known as the Avalanche. I do know that the game was tied, one apiece. I think you guys actually scored the first goal as well, if I remember correctly, through the box score. Take me through the game a little bit, Coach, and then we're going to talk about your goal scorers from that game too.
Oh, sure. It's naturally we have a small conference, Mississippi Valley Conference, and the Avalanche program is obviously a conference rival. We got the better of them earlier this year in early December. 4-2 was a good game, very close, hard-fought game there too. We did score first here the other night and had a couple of prime scoring chances. Rang one off the post. Their goalie made an excellent poke check with like a second and a half to go in the period to prevent a potential goal, and they had picked one up just a few minutes before, so we ended the first 1-1. It was a good game. Gave up a couple early in the second, took a timeout, regrouped a little bit, came back to battle the rest of the game. But, I credit them. They outshot us this time. We outshot them the first time. Their goalie played very well. And, it was a hard-fought win for them. Tough rival loss for us. But, as you pointed out, we're 7-8. We have some ups and downs. We battle every day, and we go at it, and our process is get 1% better every day. And by the end of the year, that makes you about twice as good as you were at the start if you stick to it. So that's what we focus on, what we can control.
36-30, I think, were shots. So as you said,
Yes.
they got outshot. You did by just 6. I'm going to probably struggle with some names. There's some that I haven't seen as far as your roster goes, but I know that you can help me out. Colin Como, Matt Tillman, and Carter Hayes, your 3 goals. Did I get those right?
Colin Como.
Como, okay.
Yes.
Well, tell me a little bit about the 3 goals that you got too, and then we're going to talk about your goalie because I want to know a little bit more about him as well.
Sure. All 3 of those guys, experienced players. Colin Como and Carter Hayes, of course, seniors for the program. They're leaders. They're both captains. Matt Tillman, an up and coming, shining star for us. He's a sophomore, great offensive oriented player. Had a great, in fact, Matt's was our last goal that we scored to try to narrow the gap, and pretty much was almost an end-to-end rush, went around a couple of defenders, made a nice finish on the goalie. Was a great goal, brought us some momentum back. We just couldn't finish. Colin got us on the board. He was the leading returning point man from last year, and unfortunately suffered an injury in a scrimmage the Friday before the week that started the season, and couldn't get back on the ice till between Christmas and New Year's. So a shortened season, averaging over 1.5 a game for us, a leader on and off the ice, an explosive big play type player. He had a nice goal to get us started, and he rang one off the post in the first period too. So usually generates several scoring opportunities a game. Carter Hayes, another one of our captains, just a really solid player. He centers a line between Colin Como and Noah Gillette. Noah Gillette happens to be our leading scorer, has played the full season, has bounced in and out of the top 10 in the state, actually, in high school, and goals scored, was Wisconsin Prep Hockey's Player of the Week here a week ago. So those 3, Gillette, Hayes, and Como, have been our leading scoring line all year. Matt Tillman plays in that top 6 forward group as well. We count on them for some offensive punch. Josh Pogriba is our sophomore goalie, but first-year high school player. So Josh is, a big, strong player, a blocking style goalie, has just been a workhorse for us, has played every game. And I really appreciate that he's made this transition. Well, a year ago, he's playing Bantam hockey in River City. It's a big adjustment from Bantams to high school, regardless of what anybody tells you. And now you're on the ice with 18-year-old seniors who have maybe 4 years of high school hockey. So doing a good job for us. Was actually a little bit under the weather under the game, but he gutted it out like he has all year. He's a Logan student athlete. We have an interesting story on goalies. If you don't mind, I'll go into that.
Go ahead.
But
Go ahead.
last year they graduated the goalies that were in the program. So come in and I get this program. I look at Russia. We don't have a goalie, not zero. We got Josh coming in. I knew he was a goalie, and he has stepped up and done well. And two other also Logan athletes, Zachariah Collins and Caden Peterson, stepped up and said, "Hey, coach, we're willing to take on goalie roles. We know we play a full JV, a full varsity schedule. We need 2, 3, 4 goalies," and they picked it up and have been workhorses for us too. And they back up Josh, and they played through the junior varsity game. So I just want to give a shout out to our whole goalie group, young, inexperienced in terms of goaltending, but stepping right in there and taking the heat for us.
Yeah, Pagriba, I thought I had it written down how many saves he's had on the season. I think about 384 or so, because he's pretty much been your only goalie for varsity. Again, we're talking with Oak Moser. He's the head coach for Onalaska and lacrosse boys hockey. You know, you mentioned to me before we got started and started recording that this is actually your first year in the program, as you just alluded to as well, saying you're coming in, you don't have goalies. You also have a dynamic where you have student athletes from 3 different schools. You got to put them all together. Then you got to find the right chemistry with them, the line changes, everything else. So talk about the difference as far as that goes. Now trying to find the right mesh with the players, as well as coming in as a first-year coach, and then trying to grow the program under your tutelage.
Yeah, some challenges for sure. And I'm very appreciative of these young student athletes. You know, one of my concerns coming in is there's this rivalry, or there's some barriers between Central and Logan and Anna players, these student athletes. And, it's clear they're all proud of where they're from. There's no doubt. And I'm happy for them to be that. And they should keep that identity. But from the get-go, even when we did a little summer work, I said, "Hey, look, we're the Hilltoppers. We're not Onalaska. We're not Lacrosse. I know our name is Ona Lacrosse Co-op. Right now, our nickname, our team name is the Hilltoppers. That's who we are. That's how we have to think. That has to be our mentality." And they've been very good, and we've got players sprinkled all through our lineup from all 3 programs. To that point, if Logan wasn't part of this co-op, we don't even have a single goalie. Okay, right. And I feel for particularly the upperclassmen, if you're a freshman or sophomore, yes, I might be your first or second coach at the high school level. Not that big a deal. If you're a junior or senior, I'm the 3rd coach you've seen in the last 3 years. That's tough on any high school athlete in any sport. Every coach has their own personality style, has their own approach to the game and to their coaching staff. And so a lot of challenges, a lot of balls to juggle in the air, but that's what makes it challenging. It's also what makes it a little bit fun for me. I focus on trying to get to know individual players, how they think, how they communicate, how they're able to work together. And then we look for those synergies you mentioned, try to bring them together and do the best we can. Or if you ask anyone on the team, including myself and the assistant coaches, are you satisfied being 7 and 8? No, I'm not, but I'm never satisfied. And I told the team, that's our focus. We get better every day. It's a process. The great thing about high school hockey is everybody's in the playoffs. And everybody starts the playoffs with a 0-0 record. Now you want to be positioned and seated as high as you can to get, a good matchups in the early rounds. But, we set goals as a team, and we have some specific goals that aren't fully within our control. We wanted to win our conference. Well, with the loss to the Avalanche and having been beat by Toma, that's not going to happen for us. That's okay. We wish those teams a great game. In fact, they're going to be battling it out potentially tonight for the conference title. We want to be above 500. We wanted to have more wins than last year. We want to win some playoff games and go as deep as we can. We have these goals. Now, we don't have full control of those, but as a team, they also set some targets in terms of standards, how we're going to perform, because as you mentioned, there's challenges, and the team themselves came up with, work ethic is important. Commitment to ourselves and to the program is important. We need to be a team first, team oriented group. And teamwork is a priority, and we need to be responsible for our own performance. And those are the things we can control. We talk about them before every game. We have them posted in the locker room. That's our focus, and we get 1% better every day. And I think with an approach like that, it helps to bring players from multiple schools, multiple backgrounds, multiple experiences, different identities together. and try to be the best we can every day, and then go out and compete. Trust me, we step on the ice with the intent to have a successful outcome every day. We realize we don't have 100% control of that, but those things we can't control are going to help us get more wins than losses, and that's our focus.
Well, and going back to looking at your overall season too, up to this point, 7-8, as you said, there's been kind of hot and cold. You had a couple wins in a row, then a couple losses, then a couple wins, then a couple losses. 59 goals on the season, though, 63 assists, as we mentioned, 384. You kind of saves, that is, and then you kind of mentioned some of those top players that you've got so far. But has it been a little bit of that hot and cold? Couple wins, couple losses. How do you kind of get over that and string a few together? Because I know the season's going to start winding down here shortly.
Well, we're in the second half. We're in the final run. I think we're looking at 9 games left. Then the playoffs start. So no doubt. And, yes, if you look at the sheet, look at our schedule, you go, yeah, a couple wins, couple losses, a win, a loss. Our longest winning streak was 3 games. Our longest losing streak is 2 games. We come off a loss with the Avalanche. We go to Wanakee this weekend, who is a very solid team. Scores a lot of goals. You also have to look at the schedules. I think we play a reasonably strong schedule. There's all kinds of rankings out there for different things. You look at some, it would indicate within our area, we have the strongest strength of schedule, and we want it to be that way. So the way these teams are sprinkled in make a difference too. We took a couple hits early with playing 2 teams that are top 10 right now in the state out of Madison. Set us back, and we had an overtime loss to Sauk Prairie, which is a tough one. When I think back, that's one that got away from us. We wanted to perform better within the conference games. Obviously, those are all rivals. And so, a couple got away from us that we'd like to have back, but that's going to happen. We just try to keep looking forward. Our next 3 games are tough. We have Wanakee, Reedsburg, and Oregon. Oregon's a Division II, but they're a top 5 Division II team in the state right now. Wanakee and Reedsburg, always competitive. So we're looking forward to that. Actually, we go to battle and see what we have. I thought coming into the season, I'll just be straightforward, that we would be more productive than we are. And we've had to rely heavily on our first line for a large portion of our goal scoring. Getting Colin Como back from his injury certainly helps. Noah Gillette, as I mentioned earlier, has been carrying the load a lot on scoring. So you see Matt Tillman step up and several other guys get some goals here or there. That's what we need. Our defensive crew's done a pretty good job. Our goaltenders developing every day. That's all I can ask for them. And, I don't make predictions about win and loss going forward, because guaranteed you're always wrong, right? Correct?
True.
But we know we're going to pick up some wins between here and the end, and we're going to position ourselves to do whatever we can in the playoffs.
Well, I know we are on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel, so I do want to ask about a Central kid that I did see in the stats, and that's Thomas Bryan. I believe he's a Central Riverhawk. Tell me a little bit about his season. 4 goals, 5 assists, kind of helping out everywhere.
Yes, and Thomas, big, strong, impactful type player, can play a physical game. He can play a playmaking type style of game. In fact, if you asked me to describe him in one word, I go, you know what? He's a gritty player. He's a playmaker. And he finishes at times when he can. He's got some big goals for us this year. He makes some assists. Interestingly, you probably didn't pick this up, but those that watched the game against the Avalanche, all of a sudden Thomas was playing D as a defenseman. And Gus Weiner, who's been a very, very good defenseman for us, is filling his role as a center, as a top 6 forward on our second line there. And both accepting those roles and willing to do them easily. We're just looking to try, how are we better as a group? And both played well. And so we're going to keep it that way for a while. But yeah, Thomas Bryan's a Central student athlete. I've had the good fortune to have coached him in spring and summer programs over the years. So I had some familiarity with him. We have a good working relationship. And he's an impactful type player. Is he going to go end to end and stick handle around 6 guys, 5 guys? No, and that's not his role either. But he makes plays. He gets a puck up the ice. He plays strong on the defensive end, and I think he'll be a key player for us the rest of the way as well.
That's nice.
Jude Alvarado, another Central player who's you got to love that. You get 3 sport athletes. I mean, what more can you ask for? And a regular player in our varsity as well. Picked up his first varsity goal the other day up in our win over Somerset at the end of last week. Just great attitude, young player, works hard, does whatever he asks. And believe it or not, I'll give him this shout out. Jude was willing to step up and be a goalie if we actually had to also. Not a plan that he wanted to do it long term, but fortunately some other guys stepped up. They were picking it up pretty quick, and we have Jude back on the ice as a forward where he's helping the team.
That's awesome. Yeah, the versatility, got to love hearing about that. And as you mentioned and alluded to, you do have a big game coming up on Saturday. It's at Wanakee. I think what I saw was there's 9-0. Next game at home is Tuesday, January 24th. Definitely want to plug that that's the Reedsburg/Wisconsin Dells game that's coming up on Tuesday, January 24th. I asked you before we started too. I want to get this out there though. So promote your social media and your stream as well. So that way people can know how to find you and can watch some hockey, because if you don't get to go to it, you should at least check it out online. And if you've never been to a hockey game, I totally recommend it, because it's the funnest, it's the best live sport I've ever been to.
Well, awesome. I feel the same about hockey. I enjoy multiple sports and have coached in different sports. But you have to be there. You have to be close to the action where you can hear and feel and see it, and it's a great game. Sure, our social media, there is a Onalaska Lacrosse Co-op Hilltopper Hockey Facebook page. I invite people to go there and follow that. Unfortunately, viewing games is a little tougher. We film them all for our own team, but that's limited to team and staff and a program called Huddle that a lot of sports use. But there is what's called Live Barn available at the Omni Center, where we play all our home games, and in most of the rinks we play at. And it's I believe it's a free subscription. You just have to sign up, generate a Live Barn account, and you can watch the game live from anywhere. The video isn't the greatest because it's not going to zoom in. It's motion sensitive. It just pans back and forth up and down the ice. But you get an idea of what you're watching. You can see player numbers. If you got a family member playing there, you can for sure identify them. And then a lot of the teams we go to post the games on YouTube in a quick search of literally just high school hockey with the two teams' names. Will usually come up with that. So yeah, we had a great turnout there for the Avalanche game earlier this week. As you know, they're local too. Right. But I tend to tune it out, but it is awesome to have fans. The players really appreciate that. You were talking about the Central athletes, and all our kids from Central are great. We have a senior defenseman, Christian Blank, who's a Central athlete as well, doing a nice job for us. So I just like to get, and he's a regular varsity defenseman. I just like to get these guys a little recognition as well.
Absolutely, that's what I'm.
Oh, you mentioned. I'm sorry, you mentioned Wanakee. They're not actually 9-0. They're 13-5. I know where it showed that on Wisconsin Prep Hockey, so I fully understand. Their losses were to some really good teams in the state, and they scored a lot of goals. It's going to be a fun, competitive game. The Reedsburg game is going to be great. They're not far away. They're always a rival. They always play a good, solid, hard hockey game. And if people can come out next Tuesday, I think you'll be pleased.
Yeah, definitely check them out. Pardon me for that. Yeah, as you said, on the prep website, that's what I had saw. So that's what I went off of. But as you said, I should have went to the full page, but I got to let you go, Coach. Thank you so much for coming on with us for Oak Moser. I'm Joel McCall. Boys hockey, again, we really appreciate it. As Onalaska Lacrosse, they're at Wanakee coming up on Saturday. Next home game then against Reedsburg, Wisconsin Dells. That's on Tuesday, January 24th. Do want to promote as well that we have boys basketball tomorrow night. And wouldn't you know it, it's Onalaska versus Lacrosse Central. So we have Central and Onalaska boys basketball coming up for you tomorrow night. Nami and I will be on that call. Thank you again, Coach Moser. Really do appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in here on the Central Riverhawks YouTube channel. I'm Joel McCall.